Hello, this is Ian McKellen, welcoming you to the cast audio commentary.
Welcome to the DVD.
Welcome.
Okay.
Strap yourself in. It's going to be a long ride, but I tell you what, it's going to be enjoyable.
It'll be bumpy.
This was one of my favorites to do because we had so much fun.
Oh, it was a blast. It was a blast doing. The fun of making the film was, I think, reflected in the movie.
I've never worked on anything quite like it, and I don't know if I ever will. I mean,
I like it that it doesn't say a Peter Jackson film.
Hang on, here we go. Here's the money shot.
Who's that?
Who is this shady character?
I kind of couldn't take my eyes off him. It was like, even when his back was turned, he just sort of draws you in. It's like he's constantly switched on or something, you know. It's just his presence is very kind of mesmerizing and interesting. I mean, he's very, very talented young guy.
That was the best opening sequence I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah.
He's really good. This is a really well-cast movie. I mean, and very much of an ensemble, and everybody was extremely easy to work with. I know that's boring and not good copy, but you guys are just going to have to sleep through that remark.
Those mouth movements that he has
Are
are
great.
unbelievable.
Brilliant.
He is such a remarkable actor, and there was once a time when, you know, he was the most recognizable actor in the world. Intellectually, of course, he is probably one of the brightest men on that production.
What a great introduction to the character.
Oh, it's fantastic.
He's such a courageous young man, you know, at that age, you know, and I mean, he's sort of worldly wise anyway, you know. He's sort of innate wisdom that, you know, somebody who's been well brought up and also experienced life on many different levels through work, I would imagine, as well. But he did an incredible job. I'm constantly amazed at his sensitivity and his look and his handle on the character, and
I loved working with him. He's such a natural talent and such a wonderful energy, and his instincts are excellent. And all that wonderful self-belief and assurance that young actors must have if they're going to be good.
This is an awesome shot.
These are my favorite shots in the movie.
I've worked on some pretty major productions, but it seems to me that the in-depth preparation and quality of every department involved in this film was nothing less than first class.
Now, hang on. This is the entrance to end all entrances. Look
That's
at
yourself.
this. Oh, my God.
There we are.
I think this is possibly one of the coolest entrances to a movie ever.
there's a certain tension in the scene. They're still testing each other out. There's a lot of respect for each other, I think, even at this point.
If that is not two movie stars.
Cheeky.
He totally got this, you know?
Oh, he loved it. He
totally
grew
got
up,
this.
but you see, he grew up with
With
the
all
real
those films.
old style
Yeah.
stuff.
So how long have you been a
Just as an actor, watching him work the different camera angles with his face, I mean, he's just such a genius.
It's hard to talk during this. It's so captivating. I've seen it far too many times to mention.
but nothing like this.
That's big acting. You know some big things are at stake.
If you cast right, you've done about 80% of your work with the actors. It's a sign of a very experienced and very accomplished director. All I can say is it was spot on.
Just trying to make him look good, guys. Come
He
on.
looks good. He looks good.
He couldn't look any better.
He couldn't. At any given time, there were up to 6 different crews filming. I think they had 24 motion picture cameras. There were 2 second unit directors, an insert unit director, a model photographer. I mean, just all. But I think one of his biggest accomplishments was helping direct all of these sub-directors.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's great to see sort of so-called action heroes with this sort of depth, isn't it?
Yeah, oh, completely. I think that's what sets this apart.
Very, very funny. And the great thing about that scene was that we filmed it that way, and we just did like 3 different versions of
Yeah,
it.
different ways. Yeah.
He has a range of reading and experience and a depth of thinking that very few actors that I know have ever had.
knowing how they shot this. What was it, 3 months through the night?
3 months of night
3
shoots.
months. They were like vampires.
This moment coming up freaks so many people out.
It's such a great thing.
Isn't it?
Seamless blend of just great acting and special effects.
He was cast on this movie so fast. And it was one of those things where it wasn't like, let's try him out. He will be perfect kind of thing. It was amazing how it worked out. He got the call, talked to them on the phone for hours, and agreed to do it. Apparently, from what he says, greatly due to his son pushing him to do it.
That scared the bejesus out of me the first time I saw it in the cinema. Really made me jump. I was in a really bad mood this day because being in a field surrounded by plants and things, I just got really bad hay fever and I was sneezing and my skin was going crazy, so I was in a very bad mood.
It's funny, you're told your whole life that you're not supposed to talk during movies.
Yeah, I know, it's very difficult, especially in kind of emotional parts.
Isn't it weird?
The cinematography in this scene is awesome.
Unbelievable.
It's those details that I think really make this movie so sort of special and spectacular, you know, the attention to detail.
I love that sound effect.
Of course, the government.
This is the point in the film where all the men kind of go, oh, wait, hang on, hang on, sit up straight, concentrate.
She's really incredible.
She's a wonderful woman, a wonderful actress, obviously. Lovely quality, lovely quality. And these scenes are so difficult to do.
Can I just say that's like one of my favorite images ever?
She came in as one of the only women in an all-boys kind of story and invested a huge amount of herself. I think it all comes through in her performance, you know.
Everybody on this film was just, 5 million% committed to what we were doing.
This picture brings the best out of everybody. There aren't many circumstances in life that do that.
What's he singing about here?
This was his Christmas #1 when he was 19. It's a slowed-down version of Dirty by Christina Aguilera.
That's true.
I mean, it's beyond simply asking him to sing and use his vocal talent, but to use his songwriting ability and rely on that and trust in that is incredible.
I actually remember coming into work and I saw Victoria Sullivan, who worked on continuity on the film on main unit, and I said, how did the song go? And she said it was fantastic, and she said that she was crying.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, that's sweet.
What was the name of the fake game that y'all tried to get me into?
Oh,
Tig? Tag? Tig. That was good.
Oh my god.
And Tig, myself and Dom just started tigging each other, touching each other and going, Tig, just like for no reason. And then Sean came over.
Slightly different from Tag.
And he came over and started doing it as well, Tig. And then we'd say Tig, tag, like for no reason.
Tom Tig.
And then Elijah came over and said, what you guys doing? I said, oh, we're playing a game called Tig. And he says, how do you play? And then we spent like the next 2 hours making up rules.
And trying to teach me, and of course I was getting everything wrong.
He couldn't follow the game, and the three of us were forever frustrated that he wasn't following these new rules that we would continue to make up.
So we would play, the three of us were all constantly getting it right. Every time Elijah tried a new way of tigging someone, we'd say, no, Elijah, you can't tig on a tog, you can't tag on a tig, you have to do an elephant impression if you're going to tig Billy, and if Billy's going to tig you back, you have to get on your knees and take your trousers down.
How many times, Elijah, you can't double tig a tag? Yeah. All these kind of...
and for like 3 weeks he was saying how much he enjoyed playing Tig and that he
he wanted to get the rule book, didn't he?
But do you remember that we forgot to say it was a wind-up?
Yeah.
And it was like a year later he says, why do we never play Tig?
And then they finally let the tag out of the bag. My whole world came shattering down on me when they told me that was a lie. Because for a whole year I believed that was a real game, and then they told me and that.
Sorry, Elijah.
What else was not true? That's what I was asking.
Every day they were constantly rewriting, polishing, adjusting, writing scenes for the sets that were almost finished being built that we were going to be shooting on 48 hours later or something like that.
Yeah.
There he goes. He's out of the picture.
He's out of it.
He's out of the
done.
picture.
Now this guy walking by us is actually a 5-foot-tall female gymnast on stilts dressed as a man.
Called Becky.
Yeah.
Rebecca Fitzgerald.
Acting is essentially the transfer of your imaginative insight into something physical to share it with other people. Good actors, and there isn't a bad actor on this set, access their imagination so readily and so that goes in and it just comes out through your fingers, really, when you act.
Have you ever heard of Oh, man, what a death scene.
He dies nobly, he dies tragically.
What? He's up.
Oh! It's pretty captivating when it's a complete black screen.
Black screen, yeah. This is the first
shot
filming.
we ever filmed in the movie, right?
First day of filming.
I've noticed that when I work with actors, when they get upset and insecure, it's because they don't know the words.
You think that's it?
Yeah, and then if a director wants them to do something differently or see it a different way, they don't want to be bothered because they're still working on getting the line. Whereas if they really had the lines down cold, and I don't mean you rehearse it to a point where you're going to just do it by rote, but if you've got the words in your head, then when a director says, try it this way, you can go do it 100 different ways because the words are going to come. You don't have to worry about that.
Here we go. Best line in the movie right now.
Hand-to-hand combat.
Oh, that was magical.
I mean, that's breathtaking.
It's Harrison Ford, basically.
Yeah.
I was pleased we were nominated by MTV as the best fight of the year.
We'd choreograph each scene, each fight scene, and then really it would just all adapt itself.
Bob Anderson was the stunt guy, he's the one who was responsible for the choreography and the moves, and he was just great to work with. As everyone were. I mean, the stunt guys and the stunt girls, they were fantastic.
I love this.
This is great. This kind of came out of improvising.
The first time that I cry in the cinema when I'm watching it was at this particular point.
This is a mixture of the actors and the very athletic doubles who fall on their backs and so on.
Did one take where I ran past and caught my neck on that rope.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think the camera was running.
One of the things that everyone wanted to see the movie for and wanted to come back to the movie again.
It's become an icon for this.
I think this scene is a combination of every kid's most fantastic war fantasy, and then it's totally authentic at the same time.
Yeah, you're
So
right.
it's both.
The build up to it for me is kind of, I mean, even as great as the battle scenes itself, but the build up,
It is the build up. The build up is everything.
And the human drama involved.
God, do you remember when they used this shot in every trailer?
Yeah, I got kind of sick of it myself.
Every time I've seen this in the cinema, like with all the audiences, there's a cheer. Isn't that fantastic? It just warms your heart, that bit. And this guy loving it, and then, look.
I guess you've still got a lot to learn.
I love that.
We've got to just pay some respect to sound here. I mean, just the weight of the movie, so much of the weight of the movie is carried through sound and the sound editing, and it's
so true.
The layers of elements, of both the sort of 25 layers of sound elements and the 15 layers of visual elements that go into that one sequence. You just...
Do you think that when a director casts an actor, if he's cast him right, probably 90% of your job is done with that guy, right?
That's done.
But if you've cast that person wrong, are you ever going to get it right?
Well, no, you're going to get through it.
You're going to get through it.
You get through it, but if you've made a mistake in casting, and listen, everybody makes those kind of mistakes. You choose for the wrong reason.
And that's why everybody's afraid of going against type.
Yep.
And it makes sense.
Absolutely. Because if you type somebody and they've played it 100 times, you know they're going to do it again.
I really do lay claim to being the first on the set who actually was publicly saying, guys, we are making a masterpiece. We're making a film that's going to be bigger than Star Wars. We're going to be making one of the most successful films of the year, if not the most successful film of the year. And in 20 years' time, when people look back, they're going to look on our work and say, one of my top 10 experiences in the cinema of all time. I still believe that.
These shots, to me, with the combination of the miniatures, it's just the coolest.
There's a lot of elements at play here.
I know, it's all these different digital elements, the scenic, I mean, it's just awesome.
Because that right there, I mean,
that's a model.
Miniature.
That's a miniature, and the guys spent a year building it and crafting
All those tiny little candles as well. I swear there were weeks and weeks of practice.
With Bob Anderson, the world-class swordmaster.
This is right.
Taught Errol Flynn and...
But it was very well choreographed. And the stunt team, the girls and the guys were fantastic. They just threw themselves into it. Very professional, very precise.
You must have what you want.
Oh, that must have hurt.
Well, that was about the 15th. It was starting to hurt then, yeah.
Ooh, may have smacked him there as well. But he definitely caught him then.
No matter how much you practice, by the end of the day, when your arms are getting tired, the control, you're losing a little bit of control with the strength of things, and that's when accidents really happens. When you're reaching the edge of your control. If we actors live in fear of anything, and that's hurting a fellow actor or hurting a stuntman, and if it's anything they live in fear of, it's hurting us, and you can't avoid the bruises and the aches and the pains. But by God, it's such fun.
That's why it was like a student film, a big budget student film, because depending on where you were, out on an abandoned location or something, I mean, lots of times I'd help people carry batteries, up to a set or to a location or something like that, and it was all for the good of the movie. It was the mentality.
Yeah, exactly.
He loved it. You probably heard nightmare stories about, how hard it was and how much he got cut up and all that kind of stuff, but he was absolutely in his element at this point, playing the leader and playing the ultimate warrior,
This is all forced perspective as well.
Yeah.
Where this table's all a different shape, do you remember? It was on different levels and...
I love that sequence where he's thrown over the table.
His direction was always spot on. He obviously knew the story better than anybody, and he also knew the characters' storylines, certainly as well as the actors, if not better.
There are lots of directors, some of them have been successful, more of them are not going to be, and have not been, that just see something, shoot it because it looks good, and then it's just a succession of good-looking images.
Okay.
That aren't telling any story, really. They're not making me feel anything.
Interesting.
He's the coolest. I'm so jealous.
In a way, you really are going to, at this point, take all the best of the stuff you've loved.
And do it. Put it in there.
Put it in.
That which is capable of killing you is the very thing that is worthy of your sympathy and empathy and nurturing.
Absolutely.
So to balance that tension of protecting yourself while cultivating within yourself the compassion for the other. That is, to me, the germane component of the relationship that can be extrapolated on a macro level with governments or on an interpersonal level within families that I just love.
And to understand them. That's the other thing. Far too often, people want to immediately deny that which is something that they think is evil or wrong.
Yeah, and demonize them.
Or negative. Yeah. But it's so important
or different.
To take out that time to actually understand where that comes from.
Sure.
Because we can learn things from that.
That's why this film's so potent. It doesn't allow you to be too partisan.
We're all of them.
Yeah.
We've all got all of them.
We all embody all of those qualities.
And we're all subject to all of the bad things, and we're all capable of all of the good things.
Did you ever visit this set?
No, I didn't.
I didn't either. I'd like to.
Yeah.
He begins to have some idea that he's up against something that is desperately powerful.
He really is way over his head. He doesn't understand this, and he's not ready for it. He looks like he is, and he wants to be.
It's a powerful weapon, powerfully swung, and that it actually has not the slightest effect. Really shakes him.
They want nothing more than to be allowed to make film. They're not after making money. They're not after making reputation. And it's because of that simple enthusiasm and honesty that they were the right people to bring off this remarkably difficult task.
There was a sense that wasn't necessarily a heroic act, that he doesn't actually carry out or finish his task. And I don't see it that way at all.
Just cinematically, it's such a beautiful thing that says, this isn't about the logic of the story. This is about the emotionality of that sense of completion and the sense of loss or the sense of rebirth or the sense of death or whatever, all of those things commingling into this incredible kind of orchestral release,
When I was a young director, I had people telling me, now look, you can't go by the experience because sometimes if you go through a lot of pain with somebody and it's really terrible, sometimes you'll get a good result. I've never found that to be the case.
For the most part, neither have I.
I'd
if you've had a good time and you're following what you're going to do and you achieved it, it's usually a pretty good movie.
Usually a pretty good movie.
When he turns and his hair catches the light there, it's just attention to detail.
After we finished with this set, didn't Janet Jackson use that set for some videos?
After we'd finished shooting, I saw Michael Jackson walking around,
looking at it,
and here comes Janet Jackson's video, same set.
I think the world's got me to thank for the credits at the end of the film. I said, can't you revive that tradition of seeing the actors' faces next to their names, particularly with such a long cast list as this? If you're not quite certain of who is who, and the credits tend to go past rather fast, it would be such a help, just to have the face by the name.
I mean, not to get emotional on you or to reflect, but it has been the single greatest experience of my life, and I think I speak for everyone when I say that.
I was blessed to have found myself amongst a creative team under the direction and guidance of a genius.
I don't think I've ever seen credits as long as this.
Well, that's it. Don't rent it next time, buy it.
And also, all the guys who are making the DVD, thanks very much.
Yeah.
Although, is it really, really necessary for us to be naked during this? Because I'm getting quite cold.
Thank you.